For decades, we've all heard the story of the Cola Wars. It's always told the same way, right? A simple battle between two giants, Coke and Pepsi, fighting for the same little patch of turf. But what if I told you that's only half the story? It really all boils down to this one single moment. Back in 1985, Coca-Cola, the undisputed king of soft drinks, made a decision that would go down in marketing history. They called it New Coke, and the public backlash, oh, it was so intense, so fast, that it literally became the textbook example of a massive corporate failure. But here's the thing, what if we've been looking at this all wrong? What if the New Coke fiasco wasn't the main event at all, but just a symptom of a much, much bigger miscalculation? A failure to see that Pepsi wasn't just fighting a war over cola, it was starting a whole new war for everything else. All right, so to really get this, we've got to rewind a bit, back to the 1970s. Coca-Cola was this lumbering giant, kind of complacent after decades of just dominating everyone. But while Coke was coasting, Pepsi was quietly and very effectively gaining ground. And this is where things get really interesting. Check this out. This chart is from Coke's own internal research, and it shows this absolutely startling trend. Between 1972 and 1982, the number of people who only drank Coke plummeted by a third. At the exact same time, the diehard Pepsi drinkers, they almost tripled. Yeah, the foundation was definitely cracking. So what was the result of all this? Well, from 1975 to 1984, Pepsi clawed back 8 full points of market share. Coke's massive lead had suddenly shrunk to a razor-thin margin. The giant was, without a doubt, stumbling. And get this. This is the crazy part. Coke was throwing a ton of money at the problem, outspending Pepsi by $100 million. They had more vending machines, more shelf space, more of everything, and they were still losing. So why? Well, because Pepsi wasn't just selling a soda. With brilliant moves like the Pepsi Challenge, they were proving that when it came to just taste, they actually had an edge. You can just imagine the panic inside Coca-Cola headquarters. And that panic led them to make maybe the single most infamous decision in their history. They decided to change the sacred 99-year-old formula. I mean, on paper, you can kind of see their logic, right? Step 1, their own tests confirmed people preferred Pepsi's sweeter taste. Okay. Step 2, they create a new, sweeter Coke. Step 3, they test it with almost 200,000 people, and 55% liked the new flavor better. So the final step seemed like a no-brainer, replace the original. But they missed something huge, the emotional connection people had with it. And wow, the public outcry was just immediate. It was visceral. People felt totally betrayed. And you better believe Pepsi's president, Roger Enrico, was ready to pounce. He publicly twisted the knife, framing New Coke as an absolute epic failure. It took just 79 days. That's it. Coke had to surrender. They brought back the original formula, calling it Coke Classic. And while this ended the immediate crisis, it also marked the end of the simple head-to-head battle. The war was about to change big time. So with the battle lines drawn at home, both companies started looking overseas for growth. The Cola War was officially going global. But here's the twist. While Pepsi had scored this huge psychological win in the US, its international game, well, it hit some pretty serious roadblocks. I mean, their big invasion of Brazil, the world's third largest market, a total disaster. Then, and this is just brutal, its oldest and largest foreign bottler in Venezuela literally switched sides to Coke overnight. In market after market, Coke's decades-long head start in building relationships just proved too much to overcome. The numbers really tell the whole story. Coke was a global monster, earning 80% of its profits abroad, while Pepsi was still very much a domestic company. And if you want to see just how stark that difference was, just look at this table from 1996. These numbers are staggering. Mexico, 61 to 21. Brazil, 51 to 10. Germany, a whopping 56 to 5. Outside of a few strongholds here and there, Coca-Cola wasn't just winning the global cola war. It was an absolute rout. Okay, so what do you do when the path you're on is completely blocked? Well, if you're Pepsi, you do something brilliant. You just stop trying to win Coke's war. Instead, you change the definition of the war itself. And this, right here, is the moment everything changes. See, Coke saw itself as one thing, a soda company. Its whole identity was wrapped up in its four big brands. But PepsiCo, ever since its 1965 merger with Frito-Lay, it had a secret weapon. It wasn't just a beverage company. It was a beverage and snack company. And that changed everything. This chart reveals the secret. By 2004, Frito-Lay snacks were generating more revenue for PepsiCo than all of its North American beverages combined. Think about that for a second. While Coke was obsessed with the Cola War, PepsiCo was quietly building a snack empire with Lay's, Doritos, and Cheetos. This illustrates the strategic difference perfectly. Coke was fighting on one front, defending its soda empire. But PepsiCo was fighting a war on two fronts. Through acquisitions like Quaker Oats, which brought them Gatorade, and Tropicana, it was building a diversified empire that went far beyond just cola. And this strategic split has basically defined the last 20 years. While Coke has been slowly diversifying, PepsiCo has been on an absolute tear, aggressively pushing into new categories and completely reshaping the entire battlefield. And you can see this strategy still playing out right now. Just look at their recent moves. They bought SodaStream to own the at-home drink market. They bought Rockstar to fight in the massive energy drink category, Siente to capture the modern grain-free snack trend, and Poppi to get into the booming gut health soda space. Each one of these is a deliberate step away from the old war and into the future of consumer goods. And the payoff? I mean, it's undeniable. This chart shows a really critical period in the early 2000s where you can see the results of this strategy just become crystal clear. PepsiCo's sales were growing at double the rate of Coke's, but look at the earnings growth, 12% versus 4%. By not just fighting the cola war, but by building a snack and beverage empire, PepsiCo created a much more powerful and profitable business. So in the end, you could say Pepsi actually won the cola wars by refusing to fight them on Coke's terms. They understood that the real battle wasn't just for the soda aisle. The war evolved, and now it's for every aisle. The question is no longer who wins the war for your thirst, but who will win the war for your entire shopping cart.